We've got sprint racing today. Now, sprint racing is a thing we do once a month at Grafham. It's 5 races, about 10 to 15 minutes long, and the format of the course is a windward leeward. We do 2 laps of it, but they are separate marks. You'll see what I mean on the screen. And then a long reach to the finish line. 1 lap of this sort of weird slalom thing, but it's good fun, and it does test the maneuvers and your starts. Now, Brian and I were out racing in our 600s, and Alistair joined us a little bit later as well. Now, Brian and I were really pushing the limits. You'll see that we were pretty neck and neck, and I'll let the racers tell out the story to figure out of the 2 of us who got the most wins. Now, jumping into race number 1, as you can see, we both hit the line with plenty of speed, and we're both chugging off towards the left-hand side. Now, I'm opting for a little bit more height, whereas Brian is easing off a little bit and going for speed. But as you can see, we've both met each other at the windward mark. I've managed to get the ley line a little bit better, but Brian's coming in pretty hot. So all I've got to do now is bear away and hold on to this lead. Apparently that was easier said than done. Pretty annoyed at myself for this. I just got a little bit eager with trying to get the kicker off, but doesn't matter. Get back in the boat and continue. Luckily, I wasn't the only one to make a mistake. Brian's gone for a little swim too, so his one took a little bit longer to recover from. So that is race number 1 in my hands. On to race number 2. Now, found myself a nice spot on the start line just below the solos. As you can see, I've left a door open for Brian though, but I'm just trying to keep the boat nice and slow so I can make sure I'm not too close to the line, give myself a little bit of a run up so that when we hit go, I can be at speed. Got myself going really nicely and away. As you can see, he's just a little bit above me, but I'm going for some extra height here just to try and encourage him to go below and get out of the way. Last thing I need is him to sail over the top of me. He actually opts to tack off quite early on, and I decide to go a little bit further as this left-hand side does seem to be paying a little bit. But with the courses being so short, it's quite hard to make decent tactical gains. Now, I was able to edge ahead here by cooling the ley line by being a little bit closer to it, so I was able to get myself around the windward mark with a comfortable margin, and that was race number 2, 1 to me, so that means I'm 2-0 to Brian, which is a pretty good place to be. Now, race 3, I got myself a little bit squashed between the solos on this start. I couldn't really foot off. I got myself really struggling to get up to speed, whereas I could just see Brian accelerating off into a nice gap that he had on a start. Bit of a faux pas from me, but really wanted to try and get a little bit closer to the committee boat as it did seem a little biased. But a slow start, not great for me so far. But we try and make a gain, as you can see on the downwind. Brian is going for some sort of tighter angles with a little bit more speed, whereas I'm trying to go really low every time I get a bit of pressure. And especially the wind has built, we're now getting 20 knot gusts. And so I find once I get to those sort of conditions, I find it really easy to get low in the gusts and soak, which means I'm actually able to do the downwind in 1 go, whereas Brian does 2 jibes. As a result of that, I've now found myself in a position where I'm now neck and neck with Brian and able just to round ahead of him onto the next beat. Very, very nice. Now, I decided to tack off quite early on and head over to the right-hand side, but as you'll see, I sort of get myself a little bit stuck with some other boats, whereas Brian takes it off to the left-hand side, stays out of trouble. I end up tacking off to try and avoid the lasers. As you can see here, I'm crossing ahead of him still, so feeling pretty good, but then I end up getting myself into trouble with the flying 15s, got myself in the dirt, didn't want to be there, and then once we got towards the ley line, I just wasn't able to make any good calls. I should have gone a little bit further and gone past this boat rather than tacking here, but as you can see here, I get myself a little stuck, have to do 2 more tacks to not get stuck in the dirt, whereas Brian is able to just stay out in clear air, and that lets him get ahead of me. And then after that point, it's unlikely that I'm going to catch him on the downwind. So fair play, Brian. That's 1 to you, 2 to me, all to play for going into the final 2 races. Now, I'm thinking for race number 4, there is no way Brian is going to start above me here. There are so many solos starting by the committee boat. He won't be able to get off the line. He'll have the same problem I had in the last race. And so I feel pretty confident going down to the sort of pin end, getting myself a bit of space, and to be able to accelerate. Now, somehow, there's a wonderful gap that just appears for Brian in between me and this Europe. And as a result, he's able to start right on top of me. And yeah, it just makes my start not quite go go as planned, as I was really expecting him having to start second row behind me because I didn't think there was actually that much space. But he managed to find a gap, fair play to him. And as you can see now, he's able just to sail over the top of me, which is not really what I had in mind. And so I'm thinking, damn, there's not much I can do here other than to either point really high and try and encourage him to tack, but he can't really tack because there's a load of boats that have just started to windward of him. So he can't really tack, especially because he might not feel confident tacking a 600 quick enough. So I've just got to try and drag race him here and hope that I can potentially beat him. Alistair's had a really good start by the committee boat as well. So it's all to play for here. Now, eventually, Brian is able to sail over the top of me and ease off a little bit. And as soon as I get the opportunity, I tack off to try and get some clear air. But Brian's definitely had the better start here. And massive faux pas on me for leaving the door open. I should have definitely kept an eye on him before he start. Now I've got an opportunity to tack off. I make that opportunity and get myself over to the right-hand side. Surprise, surprise, Brian decides to follow me to make sure that he's not going to lose out on anything as well. On the ley line, I've helped Brian figure out where the ley line is. He tacks just in front of me, and he's able to get out on the wire pretty quickly, which is rather frustrating because I thought I had the upper hand here, but now I've just got to try and go for a little bit of height just so I don't get stuck in his dirt and make sure I get a good bear away and we don't repeat what happened in race number 1. Now I'm right on his tail at this leeward mark. I decide to go a little bit wide just so I can get the inside on him and get a really good amount of height out of the mark. Now Brian's going for his low approach, going for the VMG. Clearly he's got a really good boat speed, but as you can see he's dropping quite a bit of height. And I'm just trying to get myself in the groove. Definitely was not running enough outhaul and not keeping an eye on that top telltale. I decided to go off to the left. Now, it definitely felt to me that it was a shorter course to go up the right-hand side and then tack to get to this windward mark. But as you can see, there are so many boats coming down on the right, and so it's almost not worth the hassle. But I decide it's worth the gamble. The compass numbers look too good not to try. I go off to the right-hand side. Annoyingly, I do bump into the lasers. Decide, before I get into trouble, quickly pop an attack. Brian has decided to follow me as well this way, but he continues into the lasers, which I think is rather bold. I decide, get out of trouble quick. I ran into these issues on the last race with the Flying 15s, so let's not repeat that. And I get off to the right-hand side. Now, annoyingly, I'm not quite making the ley line. I'm definitely going to have to do a couple of more tacks. But I can keep out of trouble and go for boat speed. And then generally try and avoid sitting in the dirt of any 15s as well. Because if anyone's sailed around 15s, you know how much dirt comes off their rigs. Now, popping in my last tack, I'm just ahead of Brian. I'm able to call that ley line just a little bit better than he was, where he was further away. And I decide, great, now I just got to bear away, which nearly binned it, but didn't. And I've now just got to keep clear of the Flying 15s and get to that bottom reach and send it all the way to the finish. Now, the thing that's got me in a little bit of trouble here is the 15s are going deeper than me because they can, and they're sort of all slowing down as they're getting ready for this mark rounding, which means I'm sort of naturally coming to a bit of a slow too, and Brian has caught me up. I've got nowhere to go. I don't have any rights on these guys, so I will have to go around the outside, but Brian is right on my tail, and he's going to be able to get a good rounding. Now, I've got myself onto the reach, but I should have gone higher. Brian goes out around the mark and he just heads up so high that he gets so much boat speed that he just goes straight over the top of me and nearly throws me into windward with how much dirt I got off him. But the thing I was worried about was if I went too high, then I'd have to bear away so much to make the finish that I'd have no speed because I wouldn't be planing. And as a result, he would be able to get the upper hand on me anyway. So I felt like it was kind of a lose-lose situation, but I am staggered at just how much of a lead he's gained in these final minute of this race. So absolutely nuts, but yeah, absolutely wild how this panned out. But fair play to Brian. He had everything to gain. Now it's all down to race number 5. I really, really, really wanted to make sure I got 3 wins, and it wasn't Brian. So I went in hot. I went in very, very hot into start number 5. So hot, in fact, that when the second hoot came on, I thought it was for me. I thought it was for me. And I sort of wave at the committee boat going, are you pointing at me? And they say, I thought they said yes. I think they might have been talking to the solo who was next to the committee boat, who was the one OCS. Either way, I decide play it safe and duck below the line and come back. But then I think I don't duck enough. So then I spend ages trying to work out how to jibe because I get hit by a gust and it just takes a little bit longer in case I binned it. That would be much slower. So I take my time. Anyway, I'm starting a minute late. Not what I needed to win this race. Not put me in the best position. I'm annoyed because I should have just raced anyway. Because if I was OCS, then it doesn't matter. I was going to get disqualified. And going back means I'm probably not going to win anyway. So I basically should have just raced the race and find out later if I was actually OCS. Either way, I'm now playing catch up. At least I've got clear air. I'm still starting in front of the lasers, and I should be able to catch up to the slow boats who are rounding the windward mark just ahead of me. I should be able to get up to them and get out their way as well. At least that's what I've thought. Now on the downwind, I'm catching up to Alistair. I'm thinking, great, this is all working out how I like. I'm going to catch Alistair, get ahead of him. I'm going to slowly work my way onto Brian. But Alistair does his final jibe for that leeward mark and has a bit of a wobble and just everything takes a little bit longer. It was his first sail since the Nationals, and we all know what it's like first sail after a few weeks out of the boat, in this case like 4 weeks. You feel a bit rusty, especially in sort of 15 to 20 knots. And so I didn't have any rights on Alistair. He had the mark fully himself. But I was very much planning for him to have gone round the mark with the way I approached the mark. So when I saw him sort of stop, I had to just bail. I was not going to be able to jibe with the amount of kicker I had on. Otherwise, I probably would have capsized on top of Alistair. And I didn't want to try and risk just shoving it in there and trying to get round the mark either. I thought, not worth a collision here, so I just missed the mark. But then because I had loads of kicker on, I got stuck head to wind. And it just took me a little bit longer. And then the slow boats caught me up, and they were wondering, what the hell is Will doing? I was just trying to get out their way, and then I got myself sorted, and I finally get myself onto that final beat to try and chase Alistair and Brian. Now, Alistair's obviously had a bit of a rough rounding too, so Alistair's not that much ahead of me, and I think, great. Brian's out the picture. Fair play, Brian. You had a great start, and you didn't think you were OCS, so fair play. Me, on the other hand, I'm playing catch-up here, so I thought, let's just try and make the best of a bad situation. Now, I did the same sort of thing that Brian did to me to Alistair in the final race. I catch him up on that final run, and then I decide, right, I'm going above him on this bottom reach, and I'm going to send it. Now, luckily, there was some good gusts, which meant I could take the height, and then because I had so much speed, I could soak super low on the reach while staying on the wire, which meant I could still get across the finish line while maintaining that speed, which is key. So fair play. Brian got 3 wins. I got 2. It was good racing with the 3 of us. We're hopefully going to do a little bit more practicing over the winter and try and get everyone brushed up. So yeah, if you're curious to watch some more videos of the Grafham fleet training over the winter, let me know. I'd love to hear in the comments below. And let me know what other sort of 600 videos or sailing videos you'd love to see in the future. And if you haven't, make sure to subscribe. We're nearly at 500 subscribers, which would be a fantastic milestone. So if you aren't subscribed, please do. It really helps out.